Unit 8. Listening. Part 4.
So, Andrew, what made you want to go on a paragliding course? It sounds like an extremely risky thing to want to do, even for a journalist like yourself.
Well, I thought it was risky too. I mean, as a sports journalist, I spend my time watching people doing different sports, and I've done a fair number of them myself. It's one of the qualifications for the job, I suppose. Anyway, a few years ago, I was actually on holiday in Switzerland, and I was playing golf with a couple of friends when I looked up and saw these people floating in the air above me. I thought to myself, I'd like to have a go at that. It looks fun.
So you went on a course in France, I believe.
That's right. I'd actually tried to go on a paragliding course in England a few years ago. I'd even paid the course fee, about £350. But every time I went down to do the course, it was either too windy or it was raining.
Oh.
You can't fly when your paraglider is wet, you see. So I found that I could go to this rather wonderful place called the Dune de Pila on the coast in southwest France. It's actually the highest sand dune in Europe, and they run courses there. I had to pay a bit more than it would have cost in Britain, especially with the extra cost of getting there. But it was a really nice place, and since sunshine was almost guaranteed, I went for it.
Great. And can you tell me, are there any advantages to jumping off a sand dune? I imagine it's rather less dangerous than jumping off a mountain, isn't it?
Well, it isn't so high, only about 150 metres in fact. But of course it's quite dangerous to fall even from 20 metres. So whether you're paragliding from a mountain or from a sand dune doesn't necessarily make much difference. And of course you're strongly advised not to land in the sea. They say that if you do, it'll be almost impossible to rescue you. On the other hand, especially for a beginner, landing on a beach or the side of a sand dune is relatively soft and comfortable.
And what's the main difficulty for a beginner? I imagine it's taking off and landing.
The major problem for a complete beginner like myself is actually learning to hold your paraglider up into the air correctly. So that both sides open correctly without even beginning to fly. They only allow you to run off the edge and fly when you've mastered that technique. In fact, I spent my first morning just practicing how to do it, and it's quite tricky, I can tell you. It makes you feel a bit silly when you see other people happily flying around below you or above you.
And when you actually start flying, how does your instructor give you instructions? Does he fly along beside you?
No, it sounds a nice idea, and I'd have loved to have someone up there beside me to make me feel safer. My instructor, Chantal, stayed on the ground, in fact, and she talked to me through a microphone. I had a radio and an earphone, so I could listen to her instructions and do what she said. All very quiet and calm, no shouting at all.
And is landing a problem?
Surprisingly not. I was expecting something rather violent, like falling off a horse. But it was an amazingly soft landing. The sand cushions you a bit, and it didn't really feel any more violent than hopping off a 2-foot-high wall. I'd say it's much safer than horse riding altogether.
But is it safe, in fact?
They say it is. I mean, there are a couple of serious accidents every year. But then that's probably true of most sports, including apparently quiet and earthbound sports like golf. What I really like about it, though, is the silence. I mean, even animals don't notice you till your shadow passes over them. It's wonderful. You get a tremendous sense of freedom, beautiful views, sensations you've never had before.
Andrew, thank you.
Thank you.